Nat Eliason asks, our third will be here in the next couple of weeks. Parents of 3+ kids, what's your best advice for navigating this transition? So I'm just going to talk about this from the dad's perspective, but when you're the father in this situation, there are two main jobs that you have. And one is to make everything as easy for your wife as possible. And the second, and definitely related to the first, is that it's your job to take care of the other 2, 3 kids who now don't have as much of mommy's attention. Because obviously the baby is going to have most of mommy's attention. And a mother just can't help wanting to be with all their kids. And there is a natural amount of temporary separation because the mother has to take care of the baby. That's just life. That's just nature and nurture. And so from a father's perspective, if I was just talking to Nat, I would just say hey, make sure that you spend as much time with your 2 kids and giving them your love and presence and attention for as much time as you can, because they're already going to be feeling, especially if they're on the younger side, they're already going to be feeling some of that natural, not long-term separation, but a temporary separation from their mom. And mothers and children have a different connection than fathers and children. And so a dad will need to kind of dip into some of that feminine power a little bit while still holding on to your masculine power. But when we had our second, third, fourth, I was cooking a lot. Now, Grant, I do cook a pretty good amount. I really like to cook, but I was cooking a lot, and I was leading the charge on pickups. And my wife will tell you I'm not usually the person leading the charge on pickups. I'm not dirty, but I'm a little messy. And while my wife was taking care of the babies, I was like, hey, let's make sure that everybody gets where they're supposed to be on time. Let's make sure that the house stays picked up. Let's make sure that the dishes stay out of the dishwasher. And you may be watching this thing well, I do all that stuff anyway. And if so, a hat tip to you and a golf clap for you. What I'm telling you is in this transition, especially in the first month, just be really mindful and intentional of taking care of your wife, making sure she has what she needs, holding the baby skin to skin, of course, as much as you can. And then for your other kids, make sure that you are being really intentional with them. You're being very present with them. I would definitely say dads, depending on what your work is like, be prepared to kind of burn the candle at both ends yourself as well, because again, I'm not going to speak to anyone's feeding arrangement, but if your wife is breastfeeding, you can assist with that. Maybe you're doing bottle, but my wife didn't even pump. She was just I'm feeding the baby. And that didn't necessarily mean, because other kids would wake up and it's my job to take care of those kids. I would want to take a little bit more time off. I worked shorter, normal working days. I may only work 5 or 6 hours, and then I'd make up those hours either really early or really late. So I still, I was sleeping more than my wife, but still not sleeping as much, because my 2 top priorities were making sure my wife was taken care of so that she could take care of the baby, and then for our other kids that they were getting a very intentional, a very present version of dad, and then leading the charge on things around the house that I know make my wife feel a little bit more taken care of, know that I'm on top of things. So when you're making that transition, especially in the first month, the first few months, those are the 2 to 3 things that I think about the most, and I think dads should really focus on.